a few years ago, I was going to go out shopping, and an email turns up in my inbox, and it's from a family living in Serpentine in Western Australia. And the email says, the most extraordinary thing just happened. We were settling down, or a few hours ago, extraordinary thing. We were settling down to have our lunch, and there was a knock on the front door. They went to the front door, and there was a Buddhist monk standing in the doorway. And he was holding a piece of paper with an email address on it. And he turned around and he said, I live in a monastery out in the outback. I've walked here because I need you to email this gentleman with this email address, and I'll come back next week and he can give me his address because I need to send him some material. So the monk walks off, goes down into the outback, and the people are going, what the hell was that? They contact me, and it was my email address. So I'm puzzled. So what I do is, I send them back my address and everything. And a week or so later, 2 weeks later, I get a letter back, and it's from a guy called Ekigatu Bikku, who is a monk in the Bonahindu Monastery in Serpentine, and he was a member of the Thai forest tradition, which are a very austere group of monks. And he told me, and he said that your work, he said, I've read one of your paper, your academic paper, and he said, it's blown me away. He said that you have defined the science of Buddhism. He said, it's extraordinary. So anyway, we then start turning around and writing to each other regularly. So he turns around and he said, I'm coming over to the UK. I'm going to the Buddhist monastery near Rugby in the English Midlands. And he said, I'll be there for Buddha's birthday. Do you want to come to the monastery? So I meet him, and he's an American. Not only is he an American, he used to be a roadie for the Grateful Dead. Okay. Real cool dude.
That's great.
Really, really cool dude. And he chats to me and he said, you're not going to believe how I came across your paper. So I said, okay, how did you do it then? He said, well, we have huts out in the monastery. And he said, there's only about 5 or 6 of us monks, and there's the main monk. And he said that we occasionally have our huts decorated, and we need to move to another hut, take a vacant hut. And he said, I go into this vacant hut. And he said in the middle of the hut was a table, and somebody had placed a piece of folded paper underneath because the table had a wonky leg. And he knew, I would argue, his Daemon said, you need to read that piece of paper. And he said, I went over to the piece of paper, pulled it out, and it was your paper. Somebody had folded your paper up and left it in a hut in the outback in Australia. So he reads it, and that's why he became interested in my work.